Hey everyone, today we're working on a Codewars challenge called Find Count of Most Frequent Item in an Array. So in this challenge we're going to complete the function to find the count of the most frequent item of an array. You can assume that the input is an array of integers. For an empty array, simply return 0. So in this example right here we have an array of integers. Our output would be 5. The most frequent number in the array is -1 and it occurs 5 times. So this is not a terribly difficult problem to solve, but it uses some things that are really important and helpful to know how to do, which is basically this skill of being able to go through an array and keep track of how many times an element occurs. So I'm going to start by setting up an object that I'm going to call map, and that's going to start off as an empty object. Then I'm going to go through the array, which is called collection. I'm going to go for each num and pass that into a function here. And basically what we need to do is look in our map and determine if map at num already exists. And if it does, we're going to add 1 to that value. If it doesn't exist, then we're going to set map at num to be equal to 1. And then this object is going to store all of our numbers as keys and store the count of the numbers as values as you go through. Now there's a helpful shortcut for doing this so you don't have to set up like a long if-else statement to check if the number already exists in the object. So the nice little shorthand for this is to go map at num equals, and then we're going to wrap this in parentheses, map at num or 0 plus 1. So what this is going to do is this syntax right here is going to check if this key already exists in the object, and if it does, it will use this value and add 1 to it. If it doesn't exist, then it will start with 0 and add 1 to it, so it will simply set this key to be equal to 1. So that's a helpful little trick to know how to do that in one line. It definitely makes this faster and simpler to code out, something that's a pretty common thing that you need to know how to do. So once we've done that, we can just take a quick look at what our object looks like, make sure everything's working. So the first example down here, the array is 3, -1, -1, so it's giving us 3 has a count of 1, -1 has a count of 2. So it's working correctly. It's keeping track of how many times each number is appearing in the array. So now what we need to do is return essentially the maximum value that we find in this object, which is telling us which number occurs the most amount of times. So in order to do that, we can do return math.max, and then we want to spread in this array, which we can get by calling object.values and pass in our map object. So this should, object.values map will return an array of only the values in the object, and then we're using the spread operator so that we can pass this into the math.max method, and that should find the largest value for us. Let's give it a quick test and make sure it's working. Oh, it looks like we got a problem here. Maybe I forgot to deal with an edge case. You can assume that input is an array of integers. For an empty array, return 0. Okay, so if collection dot length equals 0, return 0. Let's see if that fixed it. Yeah, okay, I just forgot to include that at the start. So hopefully you found this video helpful. This sort of thing where you need to be able to go through an array and keep track of the count of the number of times an item occurs in the array is really, really common. So it's good to know how to do this by using an object and then this nice shorthand syntax so you can go through and iterate through the array and keep track of the count quickly and concisely in the for loop. So hopefully that all made sense, and Let me know if you have any questions, and hope this video was helpful.